much more bigger whenever there is any emergencies. It is important that us in Timor-Leste is recognized by the government and led by the government in working and preparing to ensure that our vulnerable communities, especially women and girls, are prioritized and protected amidst crisis.
SOP, it will be very difficult if we actually say, okay, this ministry is doing this ministry is doing this, and then it will become chaotic more later. So what I can change this to is saying that the data collection would be led by CPA along with line ministries. So will be monitoring and evaluation. So the Ministry of Justice can give their legal input, Estatel can give their expertise in data collection, CPA can provide their inputs from an emergency perspective, MSSI from the gender aspect, and also line ministries are very active at the municipality and SUPO level, so we can just put it that way and then figure out where to go from there at an operational level. Is that okay?
Right.
We were struck by devastating floods and affected 10,000 people that are displaced, and so many more are impacted due to the loss of homes and livelihoods. We are to prevent, to manage, and mitigate the risks of gender-based violence and trafficking. This is being led by the government. And these types of systems, and together we aim to strengthen.
And hopefully by the end of the day we can receive like inputs and hopefully not critics, because as Christina mentions that this SOP will not replace any SOP, but instead this will complementary all the organizations that work, especially in the issue and especially in emergencies.
Our stakeholders, which would be the MDMC, the community forum, SUPO level management disaster committees. The idea why the coordination begins at the national level is so that we can make sure, first, policy-wise, everybody's on the same page, and like Maung mentioned, the implementation will always have members of the SDMC, NDMC, and also the SUPO councils. This has like different forms, right? Like there is domestic violence, rape, sexual harassment, sexual abuse, and also trafficking in persons. But trafficking in persons is a little bit more complicated, like you mentioned, because it involves other countries and embassies and everything. So the whole session, you will walk you through what happens, how do you respond, who to contact when there are seasonal workers in Australia or Indonesia. Good morning. Thank you so much for taking the time to be part of the day, and also this very long process which we have taken to develop the standard operating procedures. As many of you know, please do interrupt me if you need one Elizabeth to translate. With the standard operating procedures on gender-based violence and emergency, a lot of you know that there is already a standard operating procedure by MSSI which guides on how to respond to gender-based violence, and the standard operating procedures on the referral pathways, which has all the ready referral numbers. So this SOP is to help CPA facilitate changes and make coordinated response to gender-based violence alongside MSSI, SAE, all the other government agencies involved, both in emergency response and also when supporting survivors of gender-based violence. So none of the information here will contradict what is there in the MSSI's standard operating procedure. It was the base on which this standard operating procedure was built, and will continue to hold and respect what the national policies and the international standards are. Any questions at this point?